I think for me, when I think of like my vocal jazz icons, the first one off the bat is definitely like Diane Reeves. But a person, two people in particular that I would love to honor in a tribute, Sarah Vaughan and Carmen McRae. Sarah Vaughan was just outstanding. Her voice and her tonal quality, her like whimsical phrasing sometimes and her syllables really gave me a good push and a challenge in my youth. So I really just loved her music and connected with her when I was really young. So I thought, wow, I get to sing Embraceable You like for real, and that'd be really dope. So yeah, just play it all in like one. Yeah. Two. I just learned this today. So. I think Valerie and I have played together since about 2008. She auditioned me, really. She invited me to a jam session, and I didn't really know how I'd done, and she said, "You sound pretty good," very stoically, but we soon became close friends and collaborators and have worked together in a number of different settings since then.
And you don't remember this, but a few months ago, when I was kind of first formulating this series that's now about to take place at Musically Minded Academy here in Oakland, I mentioned, would you and Valerie like to do a show here? And I mentioned something about I'd like to see some kind of thematically people do tributes or particular albums, and you actually at that time mentioned that Sarah Vaughan might be really a great goal for you and Valerie to do. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that because I was thinking, who gave us this assignment? This one's a tough one. But I guess it was, it did make sense because Valerie has referred to Sarah Vaughan in a lot of different contexts when we have a standard to brush up on or reinvent in some way. That's been a kind of touchstone point of reference. But this is really an opportunity, I think, for me and for me to understand really what that means for Valerie. You know, what are the particular ways that Sarah Vaughan heard, you know, what notes that did she hear, what's characteristic of her arrangements that that Valerie finds relevant today, you know, and how can she breathe life into it into a new way. Well, Maya and I together, you know, are a modge podge, if you know, if I could say that. So for me, any interpretation, any tribute that I would do, I almost couldn't see myself doing it just like straight ahead or like only traditional. I would have to include those other influences that have come along the way. So when I think of a modern version of Sarah Vaughan, I think of Bjork. I think of Zap Mama. I think of what other singers
if they were given the task to interpret Sarah Vaughan, how would they sound singing it? And then all of that filters through my brain, and I get to a keyboard or piano, and I start piecing together possibly like vamps and utilizing her phrasing, syllables like Julia Bop over some Robert Glasper changes. I don't know, what would that sound like? Or over something more modern, Steve Reichish kind of sound, like combining Misty and the feeling, the emotion of the song, her depth, again the tonal quality over something a little bit more modern. So
Think that.
Well, sometimes when people are really famous in a culture, or ironically, they may for that reason be unknown, and I think that can kind of happen with somebody like Sarah Vaughan, where you have an image of a jazz singer, but you don't really have the specificity of what are her aesthetic choices, what was her sensibility, what is her way of hearing. So just to kind of really get into the specificity of that, and then also like open it up and generalize it for our time, is it totally a challenge.